everyone. Welcome to the Sharon Gao Show. The Sharon Gao Show is a space where I have conversations with brilliant minds who are passionate about nutrition, wellness, and healthy living. Transform your health, you can transform your life. So today our guest is Dr. Aristotle. Dr. Aristotle is a functional medicine doctor based in Beverly Hills. He began his wellness practice over 25 years ago. He is a diplomat and a faculty member of the International Academy of Medical Acupuncture. He also has extensive clinical experience, including his role in a diplomatic medical chiropractic and acupuncture study exchange tour throughout medical hospitals in China. Wow, sounds so impressive and fascinating. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
It's a pleasure being here. I look forward to sharing the information to help those that are looking for a way to change their path of healing, and for those that are finding themselves in trouble that could use some assistance. So this will be a wonderful half hour.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. So today our topic is autoimmune challenges during a pandemic. According to the National Institute of Health, up to 23.5 million Americans, so that is more than 7% of our population, right? So suffer from autoimmune disease, and the prevalence is rising. So this is really, it's a really big concern. So what is autoimmune disorder?
Well, the autoimmune disorder that's occurring is accelerating at such a high rate. The treatment protocols, the statistics, everything is falling behind because everyone is showing up with these different types of autoimmune conditions. And in a nutshell, it's when somebody's immune system that should be harmonious and balanced decides to go rogue or go out on its own. It becomes confused and it starts attacking other different body systems, organs, function. There's a lot of different symptoms associated with it. That's why it's so difficult to identify what the root cause is, and we'll get into that a little bit.
Yeah, I guess it's also because for early stage of autoimmune disease, like the symptoms are sort of similar to having a cold, for example, right? Like people would feel they have fatigue or some low-grade fever or some numbness or tingling in their hands and feet, or like they just have trouble concentrating on those, like it's just like having a cold, right? So that's
exactly
more difficult to people to understand that they actually have autoimmune disease.
Right. Mm-hmm. If it affects the nervous system, then you start having these symptoms, like you said, tingling and fatigue. Fatigue is a big one because that seems to be one of the more common symptoms. Mm-hmm. Autoimmune issues became personal to me because in 2006, it hit me within just a couple of months, in which I noticed I started getting tired. I wasn't as strong. Then I started tripping. And within just a few short months, I found myself paralyzed in the ER, not able to move, sitting in the ICU after the ER. So it became very important to me to find a way, after being in the hospital for almost 3 months. Since I couldn't move, I had a lot of time to think. There was a lot of trial and error for me to find the way to that mountain top, if you will. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of ways and a lot of paths to go, but not all of them are successful. So the protocols and tips that we'll talk about today are things that worked for me. Uh-huh. And these are things that somebody can try, they're at home or while they're in a hospital.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you that, you personally went through the whole autoimmune survival thing, and you actually managed to recover, and you managed to walk again, because I understood that you were confined to a wheelchair, and that was very serious. So how did you manage to do that? Can you share some with us?
Yeah, there was a lot of, as I mentioned, thinking to do. And since I couldn't move, mm-hmm. I decided to go and follow the medical route, because I had been in holistic medicine for quite some time. And I thought, okay, let's try the medication. Let's try that way that Western medicine advises us to do. So after a few short weeks, I noticed that I started getting worse and worse as I followed the protocols. So I decided to back off and wean off of that and just implement the things that I had been teaching patients for many years. Once I started to do that, I also discovered that I followed something I call the 3 T's of illness or disease. Those are thoughts, traumas, and toxins. The thoughts we think, which is the mental stress and so forth.
Yeah.
The traumas we've had in our life, and the toxicities that we've accumulated. Now, more so, toxicity I see as being a big trigger for people, especially now. With the pandemic that's happening, the stress that is existing is extremely overwhelming. And what's happening is people are inundated with fear. Any place they go, any place they visit or what have you, they're reminded of something that is out there that is, or if you watch the news or the media itself, it portrays this horrible, horrible thing that's constantly after you, and solutions are limited. So again, fear causes our immune system. It releases hormones that suppresses our immune system. These are the same hormones when somebody gets an organ transplant. They're injected with hormones so the immune system will not reject the organ. Same thing. The immune system drops with the fear, and so now we're susceptible. And we're susceptible to possibly heavy metals. Heavy metals are everywhere. It's in the air, in the dental amalgams we have. It's in the water. There are so many sources. And when I had this problem in 2006, heavy metals were a little bit out there, but not very much. And that turned out to be one of the causative factors that affected me with my autoimmune issue. Because when you take these metals into your immune system, the immune system doesn't know what to do. It goes into shock.
Was there any significant event happened before that you think that your body had more heavy metals? Or?
And you know, I've tried to go back to the source. Now, I did have some fillings in my teeth that had mercury in them, and those were leaking. I didn't know this. The other thing that I did is I was traveling, lecturing all over the country every weekend. So I was exposed to a lot of the pollution, airports, you know, these types of things. And it was something that I really didn't pay attention to. I had done just out of, you know, some of my protocols on myself, a heavy metal test, and I saw that I had metals in my system, but I ignored it. I thought, you know what, everybody has that. So
like, okay, as long as it's a small amount, like doesn't bother me now. Like we all have.
Exactly. And I didn't think it was a problem. So today, when I see patients and they tell me, well, everybody has heavy metals, it's almost like deja vu, because I'm going back to that time, back in 2004 or 5, when I found out about the heavy metals. So it was the accumulation over time, and each one of us has different levels of tolerance. Some people are more toxic than others. If you're really toxic as it is from herbicides, pesticides, stress in your life, and so forth, deficient biochemistry of nutrients, you're going to have a tougher time dealing with the heavy metal exposure. So again, you know, that's why a lot now we're seeing the increase in the numbers, because the stress hormones are firing up, immune system is going down, metals are getting into the body, and autoimmune is what's showing up in these people.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, like you said, the pandemic time is definitely, you know, we are facing so many challenges. We worrying every day. We so stressed out. It's like on the news negative, and we worry, the fear, like exactly what you just mentioned. It's like now these things are helping our immune system, right? We get so stressed out. So immune system is not working.
And I have noticed that the demographics of different cities varies with the fear factor, if you will. Some cities have more of a consciousness of fear as a general population, while others don't. So I don't know how this is spreading from, you know, one person to another in a group or community, but it's very interesting when you look and see the different communities. You know, you travel one place and That's all they talk about. That's all they're afraid of, and that's it. Where other people are going proactive. They're saying, all right, here's what we're going to do to try to put it together and get our immune system together. There are options that we're told, Western medicine is telling us, okay, do this, do this, do this. But what's interesting to me is why we're not being told repetitively, take more vitamin C, take more zinc, vitamin D, because these things also are important for autoimmune issues. Okay. And this is just scratching the surface because, what you think about, you bring about, right? So if you're constantly thinking the fear and the immune system is getting confused, then you have dental amalgams in your teeth. These things are a combination of filling up the glass of water, if you will. Eventually it's going to overspill and you're going to have some serious symptoms and you're going to panic.
Yeah, absolutely. So everything starts with the foods and the nutrition, but definitely we are not every one of us is really aware of this. We just always doctors help, medications, all that, which is very important when people are really sick. But at the same time, we need to go to the source of the problems, like the things you mentioned, right? The things we put in our mouth, if our body is lacking nutrients, if your body is lacking nutrients, your immune system is not going to function well, right? So it's just like very logical. So if we think back in 2006 and you were recovering, what are if we say one or two major things that helped you to recover, what are those, you think?
Number one was the mental, the mentality of the situation. Now, when yes, the thoughts, but finding the blessing behind the curse was the most important thing, because I noticed initially I just focused on what was, and I focused how bad I was. I focused how terrible this is. Oh my gosh, I can't move. I need to be fed and so forth. And I had to change my thinking. That was one of the biggest parts of it, because if you don't change your thinking, you're not going to change your healing. So for example, how do you find something when you're completely paralyzed in a wheelchair and told you never walk again? How do you find something positive about that? Okay. So I had to look hard, and I had to look day in and day out, and I finally thought to myself, you know what? I'm getting room service, right? We all love room service. And I thought, okay, I'm in a hospital, I'm getting room service, okay? Then, I had to be fed. It took me almost 2 hours to eat a meal because I had to be fed. So I thought, you know what? I don't have to feed myself. This is easy. Life is getting easier. So even if you have to go down to say, I am breathing, at least that's a thought of gratitude. Okay, so appreciating,
takes your perspective from negative suffering, like desperate and all that, to something that is hopeful, like accepting the facts, but being hopeful, like more positive.
Right. And then dietary, taking out the common inflammatory triggers, sugar, gluten, these types of things. Whether or not you believe in it, whether or not I believed in it, my body started to appreciate it.
Wow.
Okay. And then I started taking an herbal combination. I started identifying what nutrients were missing. Now, guessing with what nutrients are missing when you're in an autoimmune type of situation is dangerous. Because if you're guessing, if you have too much of one and too little of another, you don't know exactly what targeted nutrition you need. That's why now in my programs with patients, we do specific blood testing to identify these areas of weakness. That way we know exactly what the issue is. And so a lot of the questions that people have, I did write my book, Change the Way You Heal. And in it, I get into detail because I was looking for somebody that went through my experience. That's who I could trust. There were a lot of people telling me what I should do and how to do it, but they didn't quite understand what I went through. I'd been there. I'd been in an autoimmune situation, and the books that I read just showed me what's wrong with me. Never gave me action steps. So that's what I did, is I gave people action steps in the book. For example, when the doctors would come in and give me the results of my blood tests, some days they were bad, some days they were neutral, and some days a little better. I asked the doctor, I said, you know what, I'm really working on my thinking process, and could you please, if the blood test is worse, don't even come into the room and tell me. If they are neutral or improved, let me know. Because what I was looking for was balanced thinking. I had enough negativity in my life at that time. So I needed to bring either neutral or positive into it. I turned off the news. I turned everything off that did not inspire me. Okay. I watched movies over and over again that put that inspiration in my system to where you feel it. You feel that tear come to the eyes. You feel that chill inside. I watched those every single day over and over. I listened to music that put that inspiration, because what was it doing? It was helping harmonize my immune system. I can give you a list of all the nutrients I took. I can give you a list of the food I ate and so forth, which are crucial. And you really need some advisement or coaching in those areas. But when it comes to your self-preservation, you've got to start immediately. And you've got to start immediately with, I'm not talking about thinking positive every single day, because that's unrealistic. But thinking negative every single day is unrealistic also. You've got to balance it. If you don't balance it, you're going to get on a roller coaster ride, just like your immune system, and it's going to stay chaotic, and you're going to keep going down, 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 and down.
Yeah, so it's especially, I think it's especially why it's so challenging. It's so important to stay focused, right? Like really understand like what you are aiming for, what is your target, and so,
Yes.
and we do get a negative. We have so many negative thoughts flying around our mind every day, but try not to engage with those negative things, because your main focus to get well, right? To
That's
recover.
right.
So it's very important to remember that, and just say, like you said, you know, tell the doctors if it's something negative, don't let me know, because I don't want to know that. And if something good in there, I know, you know, it's improving, and something positive that I can work with, you know. So that's so important.
The other important and really crucial area is to have an advocate in your corner. You know, whether it's a friend, family member, or you know, somebody like you or myself, somebody that is there, that is understands that you need the support to maintain that harmony in your attitude. Okay. Absolutely. It's an attitude of gratitude, because if you don't do that, it's a lot more challenging for the system, because the system is, you know, is working from the inside out, outside in. And again, eliminating the news, do that, number one. That's an easy fix. But you've got to replace that with things, as I mentioned before, that inspire you.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about the advocate, like you need somebody, like earlier you were saying that like some cities, like people more positive, some cities people are less positive, and those areas people are more positive, the situations are better, because we are like, we need the social life, we need the environment, we need the community, we need the family and friends support. So you need somebody or group of people to be there to support you, to be accountable for all the progress you make. It's very difficult to be alone and fight with this serious disease, right? So when you have that support, that community, definitely it's very, very beneficial and helpful. And I'm a health coach, you know, and I work with the clients, and lots of times I realize then how important that is. For example, people say, oh, like for lots of people, they want to lose weight for many, many, many years, but they never succeeded. The reason is not like they don't know the how, because if you Google it, like how to lose weight, there are millions of theories, techniques, skills out there to tell you how, but why they still did not succeed, right? So like having somebody there and holding your hands and walk through the whole process, encourage you, like being a cheerleader, like really, it's so beneficial and it's so necessary. That's what I learned from my practice.
Yes, and I would add to give you a kick in the behind too when you need it.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes
like
we all need that too, right?
Absolutely.
So it's something that you can find, but it's beneficial if that person understands the holistic environment and what's needed, not discussing the problems and the aches and pains of other people, because it's easy to get sucked into that. With the media and so forth, that's good profit. Negativity sells.
Yeah.
And so getting into that other healing environment is something that you can do. What are your limits? You don't know. Your diagnosis is not your prognosis, is what I tell patients, because whatever it's called or the name, that's all it is. And there's no boundaries there. Okay. Because I was asked, what are you going to do for a living since you can't walk? You can't move. I mean, I could move my eyes. That's it. And I could move my fingers and hands at the wrist. And that was it. Everything else had to be done for me. So I spiraled into a depression that I had to pull myself out of with the help of those around me and the help of what we're talking about today.
That's just amazing. You look incredibly healthy, and I'm so happy for you. And your book, I'm sure that with all the things you went through and you share your experience with the people, and including like actions, like steps that people can take with those problems. Yeah.
Right. Because we talk the meridian system. I put in the back of the book, there's different meridian points. And I have different body diagrams that people can use. I have 47 tips for healing. And I named it 7 steps to highly effective healing, because these are the steps that I took. And I put, each chapter is dedicated to that, to help you or guide you on some sort of path, because I didn't have that. And I was looking for that, looking for someone, as I mentioned earlier, because everything out there tells what's wrong with me, but what do I do? See, that's what the missing ingredient was.
That's so wonderful. So later, please make sure that you list the information and where people can buy your book. Can they buy it on Amazon?
It's on Amazon. Just to punch in Dr. Aristotle or Change the Way You Heal, or go to the website. Just punch in Dr. Aristotle, Beverly Hills, and it'll show up.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. So as we were saying earlier, we are going through this pandemic challenge, and lots of people like saying this autoimmune disease actually rising, right? People are struggling. Do you have any specific tips that you can share with us, people can use immediately, either at home or maybe they are in hospital, and something?
Well, the first thing is, most of the immune system sits in the gut. Okay. And that means, when you eat, the food goes down there because we're drawing the nutrients. Stop the greasy food, stop the sugar, or at least cut it back, right? You're not supposed to have the donuts that are given away free now when you do certain things, when you take the experimental, drug or what have you. I mean, it's not going to help your immune system. You're not helping yourself by eating donuts or fried food, fast food. These types of things. You've got to start integrating dietary. That's the easiest thing you can do, right?
With the real foods, with the real nutrients, because no matter how many donuts you eat, your body is still hungry for real nutrients, right? Your immune system,
exactly. And drinking more water. Hydrate yourself. Your body needs the extra water, because if you're drinking coffee, you're drinking the caffeinated drinks, even tea, you've got to be careful that you're not, urinating it out, because these are diuretics, right? So those are basic types of things. And then you get a blood test, see where your immune system is. If you're really afraid and you're concerned, okay, you're going to do what other people will tell you to, but why not do something that will empower you? Because when you see on a blood lab exactly what's missing that is supposed to support your immune system, it's so easy to fill in the gaps, because that's all you're doing.
So if they go to your office, if they order from the blood test, if for the autoimmune patients, and so the blood test is for nutrients, for the
it's a functional blood test. Most blood tests are measuring for pathology. We're measuring for function. And what I mean by function is that we're seeing how the cells are working in your body. It's like a puzzle. The blood test is over 10 pages long when we get the results, and we look at function of different cell areas. We see what your metals are. How are your detoxification pathways working? Can you get these metals out? what is the status of your vitamin B levels, vitamin C, vitamin D, and so forth. So it's a broad blood test.
Mm-hmm.
And then we may also run testing. Are you if you have an autoimmune issue, are you allergic to certain things? I have patients that are eating a lot of blueberries because they think it's healthy. But what's happening, they're giving it to their autoimmune patient who happened to be a woman's daughter, was suffering from an autoimmune issue. She was giving her blueberry smoothies. It turns out that her system couldn't handle the blueberries. I'm not talking a standard allergy test that gives you 1,000 types of answers. There's specific and new methods of allergy testing to see what you've been allergic to the last few months, not your entire life. And it's this program and these steps that you can take. Again, if you're worried about it and you're fearful, take responsibility. Don't sit back. Get a coach, get an advisor, get in and have things, do things. We're out here to help you. There are many people in your area there to help you. You just have to find them. Ask for a referral. That's the best way, okay? Because you can change the way you heal, whether you're suffering from an autoimmune. I was in a hospital paralyzed for almost 3 months. I understand how it feels, and I understand where you're coming from, for those listening and watching this.
Yeah. So when they get the blood test and then they see the results, then your office, do you provide like a service package that can help them with the problem?
Yes, everybody's different. Everybody's unique. So when I find out what's missing, I'm able to put together a nutrient that I can formulate down to the milligram based on what your system needs. You don't need any of this, well, you need more of this, that type of approach. And again, it's personalized and it's customized for you as an individual and your individual system.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about nutrients like food, and we talked about drink lots of water, especially if people drink lots of coffee, they need to make sure drink more water because coffee makes you dehydrated, or tea. That's the same thing. So and then we talk about do actual like real lab tests, and it's like find out specifically what is wrong, like what are missing, and then I think besides all this, I guess with a very positive mindset, as you were sharing earlier, right?
Yes.
Believe that things are going to improve, and then you just look at the positive things, change the perspective from like I'm the victim of something, like I am master of my life. I'm in control, and I'm going to change it. I'm going to beat it. I'm going to succeed. I guess.
Yes, exactly. Being the victim is what the message is. There's nothing you can do. Do what you're told.
Right.
There are things, but they should be adding to the different new rules of, walking into a store or a restaurant. Okay, why not have a sign that says 1 shot of vitamin C will be provided to everybody? Which is unrealistic. That won't happen. They give you a free mask. But how about a shot of vitamin C? Or how about some zinc? Or vitamin D? And remember, when you're taking these nutrients, I have patients that come in and they're taking a large amount of vitamin D, for example. I run a blood test and they're low in vitamin D.
Yeah.
So we need to find out why that is. Right. So again, it's taking the responsibility.
Yeah.
And not being a victim.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, thank you so much. Thank you. This
absolutely.
This has been so important when we discussed it today. Thank you so much for sharing all these tips, and especially your experience, because you really walked through this whole challenge and you really made it, succeeded. So thank you very much. So if people want to follow you on social media, where they can find you?
I'm on Instagram, Facebook. Go to draristotle.com, and the links are there. Or go to Amazon for the book, Change the Way You Heal. Thank you so much, Sharon, for having me. I appreciate it.